It is time to grab your dose of compassion, share your story, and solve your anxiety and depression. Welcome to Keep Calm in a Crazy World with your host, Jodi Amon.
Hey everyone, sorry about that. I had my phone on locked sideways. All right, here we are on Keep Calm Radio, and I'm Jodi Amon. I'm your host, and I'm so excited again to be with you live right here on Facebook. And I have my friend here tonight, Matt, and I'm going to push record because I don't want to forget that. I'm going to repeat that again too, maybe. Hey everyone, welcome to Keep Calm Radio with Jodi Amon. We are here live with you, answering your questions, talking about surviving anxiety, talking about surviving this life, your past, everything that happens, how to deal with it all, what to do about it, how to really heal these deep wounds that could have been around for a really long time. And I'm so excited for Matt Pappas to be here tonight. I've known Matt for over a year, right Matt? About over a year. And let me tell you about him because, hi Corrine, hi Helene. He's amazing. The amount of content and the amount of things that he gives out. He's a blogger. He's a podcaster. He does interviews and he gives interviews. He puts so many blogs out, and he has a job, a full-time job on top of all of this stuff that he gives. And he's calls himself an advocate also. And I'm going to ask him about that. That'll be my first question because I'm curious about this word advocate. I know what it means, but I really want you to know what he means by it because it's such a beautiful gift that he gives to the world. And so many of us need, these kind of connections, people to hold our hand and walk us through the hardest times in our life. And so I don't want to, without further ado, I just want to really introduce Matt. Matt's from Florida, right, Matt?
Nope, from Pennsylvania, actually.
Oh, sorry. Are you in Florida? Are you in Pennsylvania?
I'm in Pennsylvania, yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Sorry about that.
Florida,
Sorry about that. So Matt's here tonight, and we're going to ask him some questions and talk a little bit about how he's healed himself because Matt's had really hard experiences in his past, just like so many of you. And so let me start there, Matt. Like, how did you get started on this healing journey? Helping so many others, and what inspired you to do that is my question.
Well, first off, thank you, Jodi. It's a super amazing, cool honor to be here, and I'm stoked because you're just an amazing person, and I've learned so much from you and your book, and so yeah, I'm honored to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. As far as I really got started back in late January 2015, I sought out the help of a professional therapist after my second marriage had ended in divorce, and I was kind of feeling lost and alone and no idea what to do and trying to put my life back together and pull the pieces back together and all that stuff. So I sought out the help of a therapist to just kind of have somebody to talk to and work out my feelings. And throughout the course of that, over the first 6 months, we had some memories come up through some writing exercises and some talk therapy. And, I had mentioned inadvertently, not on purpose, that, I recalled being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And when that came up, that's when everything started. That particular summer afternoon, I believe it was in July of 2015, is when I realized that I had a healing journey that I needed to begin. I had no idea what a survivor was. I had repressed memories for about over 3 decades. Wow, so wow. It was a really big revelation of, that I had spoken to somebody about it in a professional sense and, had opened up actually kind of unknowingly and by accident, and then, so from there we started talking about it and working through, and I started journaling. And then in February of last year, 2016, I started survivingmypast.net just to put my stuff out on the internet and, maybe see if anybody would want to read it, hoping maybe I would get a view now and then and maybe somebody would relate to it. And of course, as it turns out, it's just like blown up in such a great way where, Yeah.
You're
It's
so
like a year and a half.
honest and open. I don't know. You say hello if you've read any of Matt's stuff and you came over from Matt, because he's so open and honest, but relatable. Like you read his blogs and you're like, that's me. And so to know that somebody out there is experiencing that, and then seeing your transformation, because I started reading it, back then as soon as you started it. There's like a blog a day then.
Yeah, back then I started out, I was writing about 4 or 5 posts a week.
Yeah.
And of course now I've scaled it back a bit because I just run out of time trying to write everything. So I have a nice rhythm now. But yeah, I've noticed when I go back and read some of the stuff that I've written back when I first started to now, there's a gigantic shift in my writing of really sharing and being open and just really, like, I can see where I was and where I'm going and where I'm headed, just by the work that I've been putting in, the people I've talked to, all the blogs, the podcast, everything is it's snowballing in such a great way to really help my healing journey and help other people as well. So it's an honor to be able to share and write that way and just be a voice and be able to relate to people and have them know that, they're not alone. And that's one of the biggest things, as survivors and people in general, is to know you're not alone when you're struggling.
Right, exactly. People need to know that they're not alone, because really, isn't that the first thing you feel when you're struggling, is that loneliness and isolation? And some of it's done, because we feel so bad. And so it's so awesome that you took this to the internet, because I feel like you brought people together in some beautiful ways. If you know Matt from before, please comment on some ways that he has touched your life. That would be really beautiful right now, and let other people know. And you could find him at survivingmypast.net. And if somebody could type that in for me, that would be awesome. Survivingmypast.net. Just type it into the comments so everyone else could see it. But hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. Matt, I remember when you first started, you used a pseudonym too.
Yeah, I did. It's interesting. When I had first started and I really started to embrace everything, your book was just coming out not too long after that, I believe, because I was on your street team to help promote it.
Yay.
And, I started out because I didn't really want to put my name out there because I was scared to death of people knowing who I was. So I went by an alter ego or pseudonym, whatever you want to call it. And I called myself Lyric. And so a lot of the posts that started for the first several months at least are all signed Lyric, because nobody knew who I was.
Right.
And then eventually I had the confidence and I started getting all this validation and encouragement from people. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to hide anymore. So I came out and I did a video of this is me and my name is Matt and, I'm a survivor and blah, blah, blah. And ever since then, I go by Matt now, and the Lyric moniker has been long since gone. But it was important initially because I was scared to put myself out there. So I felt
so it allowed you to, yeah.
Yeah, so I felt kind of safe by calling myself something else, because I hadn't done any videos, there weren't any podcasts. It was just a guy behind a keyboard, so I could be whoever I wanted.
Right.
Feel safe. But as time went on and I gained more confidence and healed more, I was able to just shed that and really open up and be who I am.
That's awesome. That's so incredible. I remember that. I remember when you introduced yourself to me as Matt for the first time. You're like, I'm Lyric, and I was like, that is awesome. Like, that is true transformation that, to come out. What was it like for family and friends when you did that, to know, like, did you, you were coming out as a survivor to them?
Well, to everybody who's online, who I had related to and been introduced to and was interacting with, they were all just giving me high fives, and there was all kinds of support, and everybody was cheering me on, and it was like a really cool feeling, because I was scared to death when I made that video and said, I'm no longer Lyric, I'm Matt. And then, like, I think I remember dissociating for a second and being like,
I'm in danger.
Right? But, like, ever since then, no, the support of the online community, the support of the friends who know my situation, and the few family members that know has really been has really been positive, and it's really a way to help. It really helps propel me. And, since then I've done a lot more things, and my name is out there, of course, everywhere now. But it was tough for a long time to shed that. But when I got the confidence to do it, it was life-changing.
Awesome. How did it change your life?
Well, I think, one of the biggest things about being a survivor and working through everything in your past is your willingness to put yourself out there and ask for help and be vulnerable. And, my name is Matt. I'm a survivor, and I've gone through all these types of things. And, you know, it takes a long time to get to that point. I mean, you know, for me, it took me several months of blogging, but for some people it takes years. You know, everybody's different,
Right.
but it's transformational because you realize that you're putting yourself out there. You're letting people know where you've been. You're letting them know where you want to go, and you're not ashamed of your past. And while it was traumatic and horrific and so many bad things happened, you know, I'm not ashamed to hide behind anything. I'm here now, and I'm doing what is important to me, and I know is important to others, to really just inspire everyone as much as possible. So it's a validating, empowering experience when you get the guts to put yourself out there and then continue forward after you do it.
Tell me about your anxiety, because I know it was so bad, you know, especially when my book was coming out, and even blogs after that I read, you know, and maybe it was from way before even. Tell us about that process, because, you know, I have a lot of people have anxiety and they want to know. They want to know how do people do it, and how do they get rid of it, and what to do, and what were some of the big things that really helped move you?
Well, honestly, yeah, I spent my whole life living with anxiety, you know, as many people do, and anxiety was ruling my life. It was keeping me stuck, alone, miserable. It was keeping me from reaching out for support, going out and doing things. There was a lot of self-shame, a lot of self-blame, a lot of lack of belief in myself. And so anxiety kept me stuck. It kept me thinking and feeling like I wasn't in control. I couldn't remember anything that I was good at. I was powerless. I mean, everything that's in your book that I've read twice now, and that I, you know, of course, still read. But when I read that, like every trick and lie that you mentioned in chapter 4 was like, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Like, oh my goodness, that's me. And so when I read it, I'm like, wow. So like somebody just put into words what I've been dealing with my whole life, but I didn't know I was dealing with it. I'm like, oh, it's anxiety. Everybody has anxiety, whatever. But when you know, so I dealt with, the anxiety of my past, and being shameful and feeling like I was worthless and I had no purpose. And
Who could relate to that? Give me thumbs up and some hearts, please. We get it. We totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, I spent my whole life like no confidence in myself, believing that everything was going to end up horribly, being stuck in the emotional moment, anxiety attacks, the whole 9 yards all the time. And
you just thought you had to live like that.
No, it was horrible to live like that, but I didn't realize I was even living like that, to be honest with you, because it just seemed so normal. I mean, anxiety had me believing that this was normal.
Right.
It had me believing that, you know, this is who you are, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and you can't escape, so don't bother. And so, you know, and then, of course, I was anticipating all the bad things that were happening in the future, or that were going to happen, of course,
right,
because anxiety was telling me how.
Uh-oh. Sorry about that, everybody. I think my internet's so high all day, and it's always about like this time of night that they must change the server or something. This is like the worst time in the evening for it to happen. But let's see if he'll come back in. Isn't he awesome? It's so helpful. He's so helpful because he knows exactly what... I'm going to go back. I know, look at how busy my computer is. Crazy. We're crazy. You know, when you have this kind of blogging life and you just give to this audience online, you are really busy. And so I really appreciate all the stuff Matt's doing. It's so much. And it's so generous and awesome. I don't have any internet. It's hard to like do that backwards. All right, Matt. So give me your questions. Give me your questions if you're on right now. There you are. Sorry about that. Hello, you're back. Hello.
Hello.
You're back. Yay, thank you for doing that. Thanks for coming back to us.
I can see you, but I can't hear you, Jodi.
Oh, bummer. Oh, I got it. Sorry.
There you are.
My finger must have just pushed that.
No worries.
Okay, we're still on here.
Oh, good.
Helene said, I just asked him to make some comments while we're waiting for you to come back. And Helene said, Jodi, I had my first dark days. Your first ever dark days? You've never had a dark day, Helene? Because I know that you struggle a lot, and so that surprises me. And I'm sorry that's so painful. Matt, what advice would you give for someone going through some dark days? Because I know a lot of us have, and it is the worst.
Oh, dark days are the worst. I mean, especially when it involves new memories or new realizations, or anxiety has you really stuck and spinning out and thinking the worst about yourself and about your future. Believe me, I've been there.
Yeah.
What do you do? More times than I can ever care to count.
Yeah. What do you do?
Well, honestly, it's really, I mean, one of the biggest things that you can do, the first thing is to not shame yourself and to not be hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up for what you're feeling, because, you know, there's a reason that these things are coming up in your life. And, you know, these dark days can really cause you to doubt everything about yourself and doubt your abilities, doubt your reason for waking up every day. And so, you know, one of the best ways, you know, that I've found that I work with it is to really just sit there. And when I have a dark day coming, when I have a bad memory or the day starts out bad, I force myself to immediately stop and question and ask myself, why is this day so bad? What is anxiety trying to do to me? What is this day trying to tell me? What is something trying to tell me that's going to cause me to doubt myself? And I try to separate myself from the emotional moment and take a step back and look at it objectively, and, you know, disengage myself from the emotion at the time, and then start to work through it and realize that oftentimes when there's dark days, while they seem horrific and bad and terrible, and, you know, there's a lot of things that's swirling around in your mind. And I've had, like I said, I've had them more times than I can ever care to count or remember. You know, I find that it's really good to really not get caught up and in the moment, and really just try and look at it objectively and say,
I like that. You're like an outside observer of yourself. I think it's really
exactly
powerful.
Right. And you know what? I learned that actually from the book.
Instead of being so close to the chaos of it, when you do that, when you take a step back, you're like a witness, an observer, and it's like, this is an experience. What's happening? Okay, feel that. You know, waves under my skin. You know, you're kind of like experiencing it like an observer, almost like you're a scientist, observing it, right? And it's a different experience from being inside the chaos and freaking the heck out.
Yeah, right? It's a very different experience, because, you know, when you're caught up in an emotional moment or a panic attack or an anxiety attack, or something is just horrible and and everything in the day seems to just spin out of control, you know, when you're caught up in that emotion, you're almost powerless. Like, you've got to really, like, I mean, literally, like, stand up and kind of do your best to disengage and look at it from the outside in.
Yeah, right.
And then you can analyze it and see,
right,
well, what's really going on? Is it really that bad? Am I really this?
Right. It just deflates the intensity of it because you're outside of it. Yeah, so that's awesome. So, Helene, I hope that helps. It's something for you to do. I want to talk to Matt before we have lots of time. It's awesome. I want to talk to Matt about shame, because you brought it up a few times, and you know it's something that it's a big deal for me, because I know how it pushes people down, especially people who've had trauma. Do you want to talk about shame and trauma in the relationship and why we have this?
Yeah, I mean, self-shame, self-blame, that's been a huge part of my life. I mean, when I first started healing, and, you know, I realized that a lot of the things that I shame myself for are a direct result of the trauma that I experienced as a child. And of course that carried over into adulthood because I never addressed it. But I mean, I would shame myself for every little thing on the planet. I would should myself, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know, I should have done this. I should have done that. And so, you know, any time that you say I should have done something or I should have handled it better, you're immediately shaming yourself, and you're degrading your own self-worth and your ability to handle things, and you're diminishing your resiliency by just really putting yourself in this place where, you know, you are blaming yourself for everything, whether it's your fault or not. And, you know, it's a terrible way to live, because it compounds itself. And every time you shame yourself once, you know, the next time something happens, well, then you blame yourself again. And if you make an unhealthy decision or something you wish you would have done differently, then you start going down that road of oh, I suck, I'm terrible, I
Yeah,
can't do this.
it's like it
can't do
twists
it."
everything
Right.
around, doesn't it, to
Right.
negative? Like even
Yeah, yeah.
positive stuff, or people make a compliment, it twists it around and has you. It's so pervasive for people, and not just people who've been abused, but definitely people who've been abused and people who have anxiety, whether they've been abused or not. Shame is such a big part of taking you down because it is so intense and so horrible feeling, and then you just hate yourself, and then you're vulnerable to all kinds of problems, anxiety, depression, you name it. um, flashbacks,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Really, it's just such a trigger for everything. And so it's one of the number one things that you have to heal, like in that self-forgiveness. Like you shame yourself for everything. It's really just these negative self-judgments, and they're pretty much lies too. Like you don't deserve
yeah,
it.
you're right. I mean, they are lies, and I mean, not only are you blaming yourself for everything under the sun, but you don't give yourself permission to accept the compliments and the good things that people say about you, because you immediately twist it around to, well, yeah, but, or yeah, well, kind of, but maybe not, and like you don't allow yourself to receive the support because you're too busy twisting it around into something that's negative just because it's you.
Right. And so you miss all the things you're in control of. You miss all the compliments. You miss all the positive because you're so busy, looking at all the inadequacies and stuff. So I'm so glad that you're carrying out this. I was going to ask you about advocate. Before I do that, though, because I have only a couple more questions here because we're getting to the end of our time. But I wanted to remind everybody about my retreat before we end the show tonight, because there's still 2 more weeks. But if you're local and you don't have to, if you have to make a flight and you can do that. But I have such an amazing 5 days planned on this retreat in California in 2 weeks. It starts 2 weeks from yesterday. And it's going to be so awesome. It's a nice small group. And so I'm going to teach you how to heal yourselves, how to heal other people. We're going to take your anxiety away. We're going to deal with your shame, all that stuff. Heal energetic things from the past. I'm going to teach you, healing with the elements and all that. It's going to be a kind of an amazing time, a very unique time because it's such a small group. So if you can be there and want to be there, sign up for that retreat. The link's above. So, Matt, I want to ask you about this advocate, because that's one of the identities that you give yourself, and I love that. I love that. Tell me about why you use that word advocate. What does it mean to you, and what do you do?
Well, I mean, I call myself, Aaron, I refer to myself as an advocate because, there were people who I reached out to when I started my healing journey. People like the therapist and, our friend Athena and you, and people that I've talked to who are just, they're giving a voice to those who are struggling, whether it's abuse survivors, whether it's people dealing with anxiety and other things in their lives. And, you helped to give me a voice when I had no voice.
Yeah.
And, people like you and, other people that I've mentioned and others that I've reached out to who were willing to listen and share and validate and give me the courage and the support, excuse me, to really embrace who I am and embrace the possibilities and, the future that's ahead of me instead of dreading it like I used to. And so when I started writing and blogging and doing podcasting, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing the things that these people did for me, and it feels amazing. So, I want to give a voice to the people who don't have one and help them find their voice. Just like, so many people have done for me. And that's something that's really important, and why I consider myself an advocate and always will, is helping survivors, give them their voice so they can reach out and help heal themselves and inspire others.
That's awesome, Matt. I really, really appreciate that. And while I'm asking this last question, Matt might answer. Ask us some questions if you want. We might have time for 1 or 2 questions. I don't have a clock except for I have to lean forward and look at it. But ask us a question or 2. Type it in while we're talking here. Anything that you didn't know you were getting into in this last year and a half? Anything surprise you, good or bad?
I don't know. Well, I guess in a good way, one thing is that when I started, I figured that there was probably somebody out there who felt like I did, somebody who was a survivor, somebody who dealt with anxiety more than just the typical cliche of I have anxiety kind of thing that people say.
Right.
So I think the surprising thing in a good way was the multitude of people who are out there looking for help. online, in the online communities, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and all these people who are reaching out for help and those who are helping those people. So I think I was shocked initially at the amount of people who are just like me and the people who struggle with just like I do, and how much I can relate to those people.
All that time you thought you were alone.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I thought I was alone. I'm like, there's probably nobody in the world who feels the way I do, nobody who's dealt with this. And if they are, they're handling it way better than I am.
That's what we all believe. When we're isolated, that's what we believe. But that is so painful to believe that, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is painful. And it slows down your healing journey. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you miserable and alone. It keeps you from reaching out for the help that is out there through so many resources. Nowadays, help is readily available. But it's really just a matter of taking that first step and having the confidence to reach out and say, hey, I'm dealing with these types of things. I want some help. I need some help. And when you do that, it is shocking the amount of support that's out there.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Yeah, people are so scared. They feel so vulnerable to ask for help because if they don't get it, they feel like they couldn't handle it. They'll stay suffering, not asking because they're so afraid of that rejection. And it's understandable, right? I totally understand. But people are so willing to stay suffering, thinking they're protecting themselves from something worse.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's the whole thing is, you feel like you are protecting yourself from being hurt, but in reality, you're continuing to be hurt, continuing to feel pain and rejection and depression, and you feel all these things. So take a risk and reach out for the help that's out there because it's life changing. And the alternative is, what's the alternative? You stay stuck and miserable and alone and sad. And
right.
So, when you take that first step, and it's hard, God knows it's hard, but when you do it, the amount of support you get is just beyond amazing. I mean, it really is. All it takes is that first step of reaching out and asking for it. And it's out there. It's all over the place.
I do tell my client, and I've had a lot of clients start blogging after they've seen mine or start reading, not even clients, even just readers of my blog over there. Cause I've been blogging for 10 years. And so realizing how healing it is because you build a community, you're out of isolation, people get it, they're responding, they're saying thank you. It's it's so healing because there's so much validation in it. And Matt keeps mentioning my book, and I just wanted to hold it up. If you're new to me, this is what my book looks like. You Want Anxiety Zero. You could get it anywhere books are sold. You Want Anxiety Zero. And Matt, and that's the first edition right there. Matt has been awesome. He was reading it live on Periscope. Are you done with that?
Nope, I am. We are just in chapter 5, and we are on skill number 4 right now. So awesome. I do it every Sunday morning. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It takes about 40 minutes.
Isn't it the biggest compliment ever?
I'm telling you, it is life-changing. I've got several hundred people joining me every Sunday morning, and it's just growing because we take one section of a chapter at a time, and we read it, and then we talk about it, and people just, they love it. And I encourage everyone, go find your book, go to your website and buy it.
Oh my God, you're the best. I should come on. And I forgot about it. I mean, I knew you were doing it, but I really should. Thanks for sharing this video, Jill. If anybody wants to share this video, it's so awesome to just let people know that there's help out there, and that just even writing and listening to Matt's podcast will heal so many people. But yeah, I should get on there and start. I haven't used Periscope in a million years, but. We'll be in touch and remind me. That's pretty amazing. So everyone, you know how to find Matt, survivingmypast.net. Survivingmypast.net. There is above in the description of this video, there is a tag for his face on his page on Facebook. His face on Pagebook. His face on Pagebook. I did it again. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be below. You can find Matt all over the internet. Thank you so much for the thumbs up and the hearts. Give us some more as we're signing off. If you want to spend some time with me live, time to sign up. 1440 Multiversity is going to be amazing. I mean, this is going to be. It's going to be a lot more than you thought it was going to be, because I have this small group and I could do a lot. When you have a huge group and you have a curriculum, you don't get through it as fast because there's a lot more discussion. There's a lot more all of this stuff. when you have a small group of people, it's going to be like 20 days with me. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be awesome. So, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time. You're busy person, but you took the time to be with us tonight, and it's so fun. And we just learned about this new app called Be Live, and I'm going to be able to do these kind of interviews in a much better way on Facebook. I'm going to be taking the next 2 or 3 weeks off because I'm going to be away. And it's the holiday. It's the 4th of July, the night before 4th of July. So I'm going to take off the next 3 weeks from the radio show so you won't see me. If I could jump on live anytime just to chat or give you an idea, I will. So just follow me so you'll get notified when I'm on live and you could just jump on. And that would be awesome. Well, Matt, any last words that you want to say?
Well, first off, thank you, Jodi. I'm a lifelong fan of yours. I'm a fan of your work. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm always happy to chat and, everybody check it out. You can follow me anywhere, as she said, but come on over, read the blog post, catch the podcast. I would be honored to have you on this journey, of healing that I'm on. And, it's amazing to see where it takes us. So Jodi,
You're going far. You're going far, Matt.
Yep.
It's going to take you a lot of great places to help
excited.
Millions of people. It's awesome. And
I'm excited to do it.
We're going to collaborate a lot more, so it's awesome. Okay.
Yes, we are.
All right. Love you, Matt. Well, bye, everyone. Have a nice evening. Be safe. And know that you are so much more awesome than you might think that you are. And you are not alone. And you are totally loved, especially by all of us here. And we will see you. I will see you in the middle of July. What is it? July 10th, right? July 10th, I will be back. Thank you so much, Jill. And have a nice night, everybody. Bye-bye.